Good afternoon. You're listening to Gambling with an Edge. Now here are your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Today, our guest is Anthony Curtis, publisher of the Las Vegas Advisor and Huntington Press, and our stand-in guy when we don't have any other guests. Anthony Curtis, welcome back to Gambling with an Edge.
Well, I'm really honored with that introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, how can you pass up such a glowing recommendation? But
the filler in guy. I'm the filler in guy.
The filler in guy. All right. The Houston Astros are in the World Series. The Mattress Mack has likely been busy. What's going? Are you involved, and what's happening?
Yes. Involved. Yes. We've talked about this before. What Mac does. He bets on the Astros, or he bets on Texas teams, or he bets on something that's going to get his customers fired up, because his furniture store, Gallery Furniture, is in Houston, Texas. So he often bets. He makes a promotion. He runs a promotion where if people spend X amount of money and buy mattresses or furniture or whatever, and the Astros win the World Series, they get all their money back. And back in 2019, we've talked about this on the show a few times, his attorney came to me and asked if I could help out, because he had a big liability when the Astros were really good in 2019. They ended up losing to the Nationals that year, but they went to Game 7, and it looked like they were going to win. He was on the hook for over $20 million in refunds, and he couldn't get insurance. Normally, he'd go to like Berkshire Hathaway or something like that, but they wouldn't insure him because the Astros looked too good. They were prohibitive favorites. And so his attorney asked if we could somehow hedge him by betting through sports betting, him betting on the Astros. So if the Astros won, he'd win the big giant bet and cover his furniture liability. And Frank B. and I took it on, and we went something like 42 days straight, making bets all over the country for him. And we were able to accomplish it. So, well, since then, he's done a lot of this sort of thing. He's done several promotions like this. He's done things around the Kentucky Derby. He's done things around the Super Bowl. And this year, again, he did the Astros. And he started real early this year. And he made some big bets when the Astros were, at much longer odds, because it was the middle of the summer. And most people, if you follow the sports pages or, these things, you've heard that he's bet $10 million. And if the Astros win it, it's now 1-1 in the World Series against the Phillies. And if the Astros win it, he's going to win just under $75 million. So it will be almost certainly, nobody knows exactly for sure, but it's got to be the biggest, even though it's not all in one bet. He spread it around different places and at different numbers, but it will be the single biggest sports betting win of all time, and probably by tens of millions of dollars. So it's pretty cool.
Has his furniture business grown that much that his liability is up? In 2019, his liability was 20-some million. Is his liability up some multiple of that now?
Yeah,
or he just wanted to get all the extra money down?
No, it is. It is up. In 2019, it ended up getting over 40 million, because he kept taking, selling furniture under that promotion right up till the end, like right up until the last game, because it was in doubt. And so it ended up being over 40 million, and we had him hedged for all of it, meaning he was going to make X amount of money regardless of what happened. This year, his business has grown because of what he's done, and he continues to do this because it works. And his business has grown as his lore grows. And but he started way early. That time he started there's only a week to go in the season when he did it. This time he started in the middle of the season, or even before the middle of the season. So they've had a lot more time to do it, and that's why his liability is much higher. Now, his liability is a little bit is below 70 million. It's in the it's in the 60s right now. But the hedge, the way it works with the numbers we've got him at, these were the numbers we needed to get him evened out. But I'll tell you what, a lot of the credit has to go to him on this one, because he just learned. He learned by seeing how difficult it was to get it done when we were betting the Astros as favorites and things like that. He learned to bet them early, so he got down at 10 to 1, 11 to 1, that sort of thing. And so, in essence, he's bought insurance, all the insurance he needs to insure a 60 million or so liability for only $10 million, which is really good, which is a really good deal based on what the proposition is.
Is this promotion still going? We're recording this on, what day is today? Tuesday.
November 1st.
Yeah. So is this promotion still going on? Can people still go get this deal?
No.
With the World Series already having started?
No. Frank and I, our part of this, we haven't had to do much because Mac did such a good job of getting the money down in the right place at the right time. So Frank and I we just keep an eye on it. We've told him, look, where's your number right now? Are you interested in possibly doing this other thing? Do you need more, do you need more coverage, that sort of thing? And we started telling him a while ago, okay, you got to stop doing, you've got to stop offering this now because the odds are getting so short, right? The odds are getting so short to the point where we got to the World Series and the Astros we're 2-1 favorites, essentially. And so anybody who buys furniture from him is getting, they've got 2-1 the best of it. So, you can't do that. Now you're just giving it away. And he finally stopped it. He understood that. And Mac also didn't want it. He wanted people to understand that they've got to take a little bit of a risk and they can't come in. Like we have a friend in the gambling business who likes to, his name's Pete, and he likes to take advantage of situations. And he called him up and asked if he could buy furniture. And Mac told him no.
Well, but still, there's going to be a cutoff date for buying the furniture, and assuming the price of the $5,000 set of furniture doesn't go up to $10,000, buying the last available date when you have more information has to be a smarter bet than buying it 3 months early when the odds are 10 to 1 instead of 2 to 1 or something.
Absolutely. Well, Mac's were really good. I was asked on another interview about him if Frank and I helped craft the promotion, and we're like, no. That's what Mac does. That's where his genius is. His genius is as a promoter, and we just help him out with the betting part of it. But he knows himself that he has to have kind of a cutoff point that people don't know what it is. And like he did tell them before he said, okay, no more. He said, there's 2 days and then this thing's going to be done. And they had a rush. They had a giant rush of people coming in at the last minute to do it. So he knows that if he, doesn't cut this thing off at a given time without a lot of notice, that people will wait till the end and it won't be as good a deal for him. So, that's part of the strategy. Because you're right, Bob. Obviously, you would wait till the very last second. Like this friend of ours did. All of a sudden, he wanted furniture.
Well, Pete and I have a little bit in common. Hopefully, there's some differences, but we do have a little bit in common anyway.
Yeah. Well, so, most people are going to. They don't think about it in those terms, and they end up wising up to it. As time goes on. The big question, the fun thing about this is people go, which do you want? Which one will he do better at? And he's really, really closely hedged this time that he's going to make money, the money he needs to make either way. But he really wants the Astros to win for 2 reasons. One is he's like a super Astros fan for real. Like he just loves the Astros. I mean, it's not just a business thing. He really does love the Astros. He's friends with them. I know he told me the other day he was eating dinner and Dusty Baker, the manager, came into the restaurant and Dusty sat right down with him, had dinner with him. So, I mean, he knows these guys. He's really, rooting for them. Second is, even though you would think that, even if he was going to make more money by the Astros losing, he still wants them to win. And you would think that it would be difficult to refund all that money. It would be a hassle and so forth. But he says it's just so much stronger for the promotion going forward. And a lot of these buyers get that money back in their pocket and they go right back to him and they buy more stuff with that money. So it's really a brilliant promotion. It's really great. And I'll say one more thing about it. Everything I read about it, when it's, they want to write about it in the papers. And when I'm on other shows with people who don't get it, they really don't get it. They don't get what he's doing. I cannot believe I see these trolls on Twitter and stuff saying that this guy's a degen, right? A degen, what we call a degenerate. Couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, literally could not be farther from the truth. It pisses me off, man. I want to just get on there and start screaming, but then I'd be one of them, so I don't.
All right. Grand Prix in Las Vegas. What do you know about that?
I know it's just a gigantic. It's just a thing, man. I mean, it's
Oh, it's
just
going to be huge.
yeah, it's going to be one of the biggest events ever here. You know, they had a Grand Prix before. You know, way back in the early '80s, I believe, and
Yeah,
it just
80
wasn't.
or 81.
Yeah, I was here, but it wasn't. I don't remember it being that big a deal. I think it was called the Caesars Grand Prix then. But this one, this Formula One, is going to be such a big deal that the company is doing all kinds of things to promote it and make it bigger and bigger. I mean, the casinos are already selling packages. You know, the casinos that are going to have views overlooking the strip. You know, they're selling gigantic packages for huge amounts of money. You know, tens of thousands of dollars a night. The Grand Prix company has just purchased. Well, not just earlier this year, they purchased a bunch of land down Harmon and Koval area, and that's going to be the staging center. And they just made an announcement that they're going to build a giant complex there that is going to be, you know, for the fans to come in, and it's also going to be used as the pit area for the cars. And on November 5th, I believe it is, a few days from now, they're actually going to have a dry run on the strip. They're going to shut the strip down, and they're going to have an event down there on the land. They haven't obviously built the building there yet, but they're going to have an event with, I don't know, all kinds of fan things, and then they're going to do a dry run of the race. Sort of, it's not going to be the full race, but the cars are going to, you know, do a few laps around, and it's just huge. I mean, people are just going crazy over it.
Yeah, it's an incredibly big sport in Europe, and the popularity in the U.S. has gotten bigger because of a Netflix series, I think. But it would not surprise me if this is a bigger event than when we get the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I mean, and it'll bring in a lot of money. Very, very wealthy, a lot of Europeans. So yeah, I mean, the Saudis are into this sport, and now I hear the the drug cartels are into it. So it's going to be huge. But I also was here when they built a track in front of Caesar's Palace, and because the Forum shops were not there back then. And the one thing that I remember most about it is how incredibly loud it was.
Yeah.
Those cars are just, really, really loud.
You guys, we've never talked about this on the show, I don't think, but for, I don't know, man, 6 or 7 years, I think, I used to go to Long Beach. They had the Long Beach Grand Prix, and it wasn't Formula One, but it was a big part of the whole thing, or maybe it was. I don't know. But anyway, I would go there because they had a celebrity Grand Prix, and the reason I would go is that they hired me to make a futures book for them, and I actually would go down there and I would watch training. And then I would make a betting book for them that they would use to bring in the the press. And so there was no actual betting, but I would make a book. And so I got to see this thing up close for like 7 years in a row. And yes, the loudness is unbelievable. I mean, these engines are something else. And I got to drive around, not in the actual cars that did it, but in the ones that the celebrities used, which were more like stock cars. And, you know, it's really amazing to drive around the track. It's not that people are going to get to do that, but I can tell you also some great stories came out of that betting, out of making that book. And it was so much fun because the celebrities were big time celebrities. I mean, these were guys that were big time in sports, guys like Eric Dickerson and a bunch of like gold medal winners from the Olympics and things like that. Basketball players, John Sally, I think, was one of them. Which was funny because this guy's about 6'11" and he had to scrunch up into this car and he couldn't drive because he was way too tall, you know, that kind of thing. And a lot of people from the movies, you know, Academy Award winners and stuff. It was great, and they cared so much what their odds were. Oh my God, I remember once Tito Ortiz got really mad at me, and I think you don't want Tito Ortiz, you know, to be mad at you. You know, he's the UFC guy, and I told him, I said, look, man, I go prove, you know, he was mad, really mad. And I said, why don't you prove me wrong? I mean, I had him way down, something like 60-1 or something, because he just wasn't any good. And he crashed. So, but yeah,
You better hope he doesn't listen to the show. He may still be mad about it.
Well, that was the only time anybody really got mad. Another time, one of the worst ever. I mean, always, I hate to say it, but the women they were always way down, because I just had to I was trying to make an honest book. And one of the worst ones, though, that wasn't a woman, was Alex Trebek. And I made him something like 90-something to 1. He was like the last. It was the only time ever that the operators came to me and asked me to change the odds, because they didn't want him to be embarrassed. So I had to change everything. But he was terrible, and I think he took last as well.
So would you actually book the action then?
No, it wasn't allowed, and it wasn't in Vegas. It was in California, so there was no way to actually do that. They did it. It was strictly for entertainment purposes. But I got to hang out with these guys. We'd go out to the bars. We'd go out to dinner. I mean, again, like Academy Award people. I mean, what's his name from The Matrix?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves. He was one of the guys. Really nice guy. The guy from The Piano, who won Academy Award for that. Hung out with these dudes, and some of them were really, really good. So. Anyway,
was Paul Newman too old at that point? Because he was really into driving.
Yeah, he'd already died, and he might have done it. But I mean, it was pretty cool. I sat next to Eric. I mentioned Eric Dickerson earlier. I sat next to him at one of the luncheons, and I don't think I've ever asked for an autograph in my life. But I asked my kid was playing tailback at the time in high school. And I asked him for an autograph for my son. So he did an autograph for my son. And I remember it said, play hard, study harder. I always thought that was great. Play hard, study harder. That was Eric Dickerson. And he was so gracious and willing to do it. It was a really fun experience. So this will be different because I won't be a part of it on that level. But it's a lot of action and a lot of people love it. And the Grand Prix is going to be a big deal.
So you missed your chance to write a book about making book. But that time has passed.
Well, you know what? I didn't know how to do it. And the way I did it
You didn't know how to write a book?
I didn't know how to make book. I mean, I didn't know how to make a futures book. And because you have to balance it. There's a way to do it. You can do it on a spreadsheet, and you can make that book have any kind of hold you want. So I would always make the book have a 30%, a little over about 32% hold. And so here's where we get back to gambling. So how did I do it? Roxy Roxborough wrote a great book years ago that almost nobody has got, and I have that book, and I looked through it, and sure enough, there was the formula on how to do it. And of course, every bookie worth of salt can do it. They know how to do it, but I didn't know how to do it at the time, and I was able to build a really a good and solid futures book off of that book. I'll find it before the show's over. I'll take a look at it and I'll give you the name. And people, you can try to find it. I've asked Roxy to do another book, but he doesn't want to do it. But if you can get your hands on this, I'd take this over any sports betting book. It tells you how bookies make their lines. It's really good.
All right, let's move on. Tilman Fertitta has a bit of money. He's been in the news recently. What can you tell us about him?
Okay, I just looked at my bookshelf. It's Race and Sportsbook Management. So if anybody can find it, Race and Sportsbook Management by Roxborough. Really great book. Fertitta, man, that's going to be the next mega resort. I mean, you talk about the days when there was a new mega resort, in the 90s, we hear about a new one every 3 or 4 months, somebody was building a new one. He's going to do it on the Strip. He's bought the land. He's put the plans out there. It's going to be like a 2,400 room place. It's going to be on the corner of Harmon and the Strip. For those who don't know, this is the cousin of the Fertitta brothers here in Vegas, who own the Station Casinos and own the UFC for a long time until they sold it for gazillions of dollars when the UFC got really big. So this is the other one, man. This is Tilman, who owns the Landry Seafoods, the Golden Nugget downtown. And he was always the afterthought compared to the brothers. And now I think he's bigger than they are. And he's always wanted a place on the Strip. and he bought this place on Harmon where people who have been here, you might remember, it used to be a Tex-Mex place, and before that, it was the Harley Davidson Cafe, and it's like right across from City Center. And they're ready to start. They're going to start building it in November. They've gotten the approvals and all, and that's going to be the next big thing on the Strip.
Well, also, I would say he's a better operator than the cousins who have all the Stations casinos. Right now, he only has the Golden Nugget, but I would much rather have him opening a new joint than the cousins. Also, just yesterday, it was announced he bought a big stake in the Wynn. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but
I saw that, and I agree with you. I don't like Station casinos. I used to work with them a lot, and they just got so greedy. I mean, they're terrible. I just in everything. I mean, I had something with there, and this is important. Something to say. I had points taken away, and because apparently they said that I hadn't played on the card within a 6-month period, which is baloney because I had at Wildfire, but somehow they took those points away, which the casinos can just do. I mean, I could take it up with gaming if I want. It was about $120 worth. I'm not going to do it, but I did go to their booth and I talked to a manager, and the manager's like, well, it says you didn't play, so we took them away. And he says, where do you live? I says, I live here in Vegas. He goes, oh, you're a local, because that's their whole advertising thing is we love locals, right? He's like, you're local, like almost like, well, that's different, And he goes, I'm gonna put in to have these points returned to you, but he goes, but I can't make that decision. I have to send it up. I said, well, put on there the information that I had played at the Wildfires. Maybe there was a disconnect there. The card works there, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna take care of it because we love locals. And they didn't do a damn thing. They didn't do anything. They didn't put anything back on the card. It's just, they will take your points. And I know Bob can speak to this. I made the cardinal sin. If I made a mistake in not playing, that's on me. But the cardinal sin is not to hoard points. Anyone who's listening here, you do not want to hoard your points because you can't do anything with them but use them or lose them. And they'll take them away from you if they can. So, don't leave town with a bunch of points. If you come here and you gamble it up and you get points, you got to play them. You agree?
Yeah, I would also. I'm just surprised you had never made a sports bet during that time with Stations.
They wouldn't take his action. There's just a whole bunch of things about Stations I don't like, and they didn't want to gamble. They wouldn't take his action. And when Mack was betting, in the first one, nobody wanted to take his action because they were afraid of the big numbers. And all of them that did, when the Nationals won in Game 7, they all scored, man. They made, William Hill took money. They had a few million. Circa had $1.5 million or so, and they all had a big score. They did good because that's the other thing that people don't understand. These are not bets that we're making with an edge without the hedge. The edge is the hedge. And these are square bets. They're futures bets. They're square bets in many situations. They're into inflated lines sometimes because they know Mack's coming. And these are good bets for the bookies, but they wouldn't take it. And Station would not gamble. They would not take a wager. Just, chicken shit. I just hate it. I just hate it.
Insofar as not leaving points on your card, there can be, yes, if you're a non-locals, you don't know you're ever going to get back here. But there can be tax reasons why you want to let it stay over a year end. If you, for example, have had a really good year this year gambling wise, you may want to wait till January before you redeem your points because they're taxable when you redeem them.
That makes sense. That makes sense at your level, But I mean, people. Let's put it this way: people who get enough to get a dinner or something, or you can cash it out for $30 or $40. That's not going to have tax consequences. So those are mostly the people I'm talking to right now. You should get that money, put it in your pocket, or spend it, on your comps or whatever, because there's a good chance you don't get back in time and you lose it, in a legitimate way, or that something happens, they change something, they want to take your points for some reason. I'm not saying they do that all the time, but in my case, those points should have been reinstated, and they had no interest in doing that. So good point on the taxes, but I would think that would have to be a lot of money involved for that to make a difference, right?
Well, our friend Pete might argue with how much has to be involved.
This
Okay.
is gonna beat up on. This is gonna be beat up on Pete.
I don't know if he is a listener to the show. I suspect I'll hear from him if he is. All right. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and we'll be back with Anthony Curtis talking about an upcoming book by Donald Schlesinger. The South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning at least 99%. This is more such games than anyone else has. The November promotion is half-price Walmart gift cards. Earn and redeem 8,334 points, usually worth $25 in cash or free play, and receive a $50 Walmart gift card. Limit 10 cards per player for the month. Assuming you value Walmart gift cards as being the same as cash, this is effectively double points, meaning 0.6% for your first $83,000 plus of coin in for the month on all machines. Note, you do have to redeem the points, so you don't get the plus the 0.6 and keep the points. Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, there will be a $50,000 hot seat promotion. Approximately every 2 minutes between 7 a.m. and midnight, one lucky player will receive $100 in free play. All you have to do is be actively playing on your card, having played at least $1 in the previous minute to be eligible. If you have not already finished earning your 10 Walmart cards by Thanksgiving, it's possible to double dip and be earning the Walmart cards and participating in the hot seat promotion at the same time.
If you're serious about card counting, the Blackjack Apprenticeship membership is a great way to learn, train, network, and get the resources you need to succeed. We've had quite a few guests on Gambling with an Edge who exclusively trained and got their start through Blackjack Apprenticeship. Check out their website at blackjackapprenticeship.com. They have member forums, training software, and guides to help you learn. So that's blackjackapprenticeship.com, and you will find a link in the show notes.
Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the Gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is Wheel Poker with Quick Quads, which is a 7 coins per line game, which is 1 extra coin for the wheel and 1 extra for quick quads. The wheel spin averages 157.5 coins, and you get it for every quad and every quick quad. The double-double bonus version at the South Point returns 99.8% and is available for triple play and 5-play quarters, meaning $5.25 or $8.75 per play. This is a comfortable price range for a lot of players. The strategy may be worked out using the Wizard of Odds video poker strategy calculator, which is the only quick quad strategy calculator I know where you can input a pay schedule. It is accurate and free if you're online, which is a very attractive combination. On videopoker.com, they have a book that I co-wrote several years ago on a quick guide to quick quads, which will give you the basics of the game. And even though it's a different strategy, the idea of how you calculate quick quads strategies still holds up well.
If you're interested in getting an edge at sports betting, then unabated.com is a great resource for you. Founded by frequent Gambling with an Edge guests, Captain Jack and Rufus Peabody, unabated.com is designed for both new and experienced sports bettors. Their real-time odds screen, tools, and calculators take a lot of the guesswork out of trying to quantify your edge. There's also plenty of free education and instruction to help you along your journey to become a sharper sports bettor. You can currently take advantage of a 7-day free trial to decide if premium membership at unabated.com is right for you.
All right. In the blackjack world, Don Schlesinger years ago wrote the illustrious 18, which are the 18 most valuable index plays if you only want to learn a few and you don't want to learn every last one of them. Well, he's updated this, and LBA is involved. So, Anthony, what can you tell us about this?
Well, you guys are asking me about what books we've got coming out, and our next book, or very close to our next one, is going to be a new one from Don Schlesinger. Don is, probably most of the people who are watching this or listening to this know Don from his book Blackjack Attack, which is, pretty much every blackjack player's got that one on his desk. This is a lot. Don used to contribute to Arnold Snyder's Blackjack Forum a lot, and then he wrote Blackjack Attack, which were a lot of those articles put together and expanded. And what Don was, as you've just mentioned, what he was really well known for was coming up with the illustrious 18, which were the index plays that depart from basic strategy according to the count, the high-low, that are the most important. All right, so if insurance is the most important one, then next is whatever, a double down, on and on and on. Well, Don and another guy who goes by Gronbog, if you've been on message boards, and I almost positive he's going to use his real name, so I'm going to say it. It's Dave Broly, Dave Gronbog Broly. These two guys, he's the programmer. These two guys decided to really dig into it and check out everything that has to do with index numbers and rate them all. So they went far beyond 18. They've got the Sporty 40 and the Nifty 50. Essentially, it's a book that's almost all charts, and it allows you to go as far as you want in terms of what you learn as a card counter, in terms of what you want to memorize. Now, a lot of people go, just using the illustrious 18 is enough. But every time you add something to that, every time you learn, 20 or 25 or all the index numbers, you're going to improve your game. You're going to improve your EV. So that's what this book is about. It's for serious people, of course. There will be probably a $40 price tag on this book, but everything you're ever going to want to know if you're using a high-low count is going to be there. It's amazing work. I mean, what they did is absolutely amazing. Bob, you would be a guy that could speak to the value of this. You talk to people all the time about how much they need to learn in video poker, and do you go so far as to understand all the penalty card plays and so forth. And I know you're an advocate of knowing those. So it's the same thing here. So for some people, the illustrious 18 will be enough, and for others, they're going to want to take it a lot farther, and this book will allow you to do it. Sorry, but I don't have a title yet. We haven't decided. It's pretty close. It'll definitely be out before Christmas, but we haven't titled it yet. How many do you want to learn, Richard?
Well, I learned basically from -1 to plus, actually more than -1. When I first started, when you could play single decks, index numbers were more important when you played single deck games. So, I knew, I'm guessing 50 or 60 numbers. I mean, it's just not that hard to learn the numbers. Right? If you can memorize a basic strategy chart, you can memorize an index chart.
It's kind of like if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah.
Dodge a wrench, dodge a ball. The greatest lines ever. Go ahead.
It's easy for someone like Richard, perhaps. I'm not sure this is fair. It's kind of like me memorizing penalty cards in video poker. It comes easier to me than it does for many people. Memorizing numbers comes easy. Index numbers, I'm sure, comes easier to Richard than it does for many people. So there's got to be a market for this.
Yeah, there definitely will, because I'll tell you what, blackjack nerds are going to want it for sure. You just want that stuff. You just want to know it, and it's just, if you're really into the game or any of these games that we play, the beatable games, and we get into these games, you want to read everything there is on it. And this is really the computer work that went into this was just monumental. I mean, what these guys did, and they're talking about doing it for a bunch of other counts too. So we'll see how this one goes. If it's commercial enough, then we'll support that. But let me put it this way: when he threw it at me, the first thing I do with all of these, when people promote a book to us or ask us if we'd be interested, we think about it from a business point of view. Can we make money on this book? Will people buy it? That sort of thing. But we also look at it from a prestige point of view. Like, do I want any other publishing company publishing this book? And I do think about that real hard. And this was one that I said, I don't know how well it will sell and how many people will want it, but I don't want anyone else publishing it. So I'm proud to publish this book. Like with your guys' books, I published both of you guys, and I would hate to have seen you guys go somewhere else. It's the same thing.
Yeah, on that sort of general subject, there's a man named Phileas Bruce who is, which is a pseudonym, computer programmer, is helping to create strategies. And he and I together are going to be producing more strategies similar in a way to the Dancer Daily strategy cards. These will be on like progressives for like 9-5 double bonus and various other popular progressive games, which at the basic strategy level. So these will not be every last damn penalty card, which is basically an impossible chore if you're working on progressives. But it will have between the number, the royal of 4,000 coins and 42,000, or 4,000 coins and 4,200. You use this strategy between 4,201 and 4,492. You make this adjustment. And so it will be the basic strategy level adjustments for a lot of different games. We think they're going to be useful, and they're in process. I definitely don't have a date, but I'm looking forward to this. I suspect Anthony is too.
Yeah, well, this one I'm very, this one I'm excited about. I think strategy cards are, except for computer learning, strategy cards are just the best tool you can possibly have. And especially for a game like video poker. I carry, I've played these games for a long time, but I carry the cards constantly. I'm always referring back to them. And it's cool. You learn as you go. You have to look at them less and less, but in the beginning, it's great. And nobody knows, unless you generate a new strategy for a moving target on something like a progressive, you're kind of guessing by the seat of your pants, like, okay, I guess I should start holding the ace 10 now, for the royal and that sort of thing. But this, I haven't seen the strategies. I've seen sort of the prototype and what you guys are doing, but I would think that these should be valuable and pretty easy for people to use, right? Because essentially, you're just going to you're going to have tick points of the royal flush or whatever it is. Is it royal flush only, or it's not going to do things like side progressives, is it? Like quads and things like that.
On the double bonus, it will have adjustments to make for 4 aces.
Okay.
There are times in double bonus where if you have, say, a full house of aces full, and the lower one is a kicker, 2s, 3s, or 4s, there are times when, if the 4 aces with a kicker progressive gets high enough, that you hold all 4 cards you hold ace, 3, whereas in normal strategy you don't. Now this would be a side strategy that is not going to be happening at the same time as the royal, because no matter how high the royal is, when you're dealt aces full, you're not concerned with the royal because you're concerned with aces, and so it's not going to be happening simultaneously, which is good. So we can just add a small section to a chart, yeah, of which you can consider that both.
Okay, so the point I was going to make, and you can tell me yes or no, is it seems like, from what I saw and what seems intuitive, is that the only changes you're going to be making are when you've got royal considerations, correct? So it shouldn't be that much to consume, really, for the most part, except for what you just described.
Yeah, it definitely it affects the royal. Now it can affect. So these are any suited high cards. Now, the royal gets high enough, you're going to hold a suited 10, but that's got to be pretty high before that happens. But yes, when you hold Jack 10 suited over Queen Jack, or over King Jack, or over Ace Jack, and when you hold ace 10. So if it has to have a royal possibility, or it is not affected by a progressive.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to him. When Phileas actually contacted me and told me he had talked to you and asked if I was interested, and I wrote back to him immediately. I said, I'm 100% interested. Let's go. I said, get Dancer going. Let's go. Yeah, this is going to be good. People are going to like this, and I have no doubt that these will be profitable. From a publishing standpoint, for sure.
Oh well, I think they're going to be popular. I don't think they'll be profitable. I end up making 25 cents per card or some such number, and we're going to sell several hundred or maybe even several thousand. But the hours that you put in trying to get these all perfect, it comes out to be worth 17 cents an hour. And so this is one that you do for pride and for something that you contribute to other players. This is not something that you do for the money.
Yeah, isn't it amazing when you talk about the nuts and bolts of publishing, and it's getting so much more difficult now because it's getting tough, you guys, to make a book. It's really getting tough to make a book because of the price of paper, because of the price of printing. This is, I don't think you guys even know this, but I mean, I finished the Las Vegas Advisor for November yesterday, and I wrote in this. The lead story is called Going Digital. And we're going to, after 38 years, we're going to stop publishing the hard copy of the Advisor because it's not cost effective anymore because of the cost of paper, the cost of printing, the cost of postage. Those are the 3 Ps in that kind of publishing: paper, printing, and postage. And we're going to go digital only at this point. And it's just difficult. The way the world is going, the supply chain stuff is real. People don't get their mail copies of LVA until the middle of the month, that kind of thing. And so we said enough's enough. And the last one's going to be in December. And then it's going to be all digital. Of course, the coupons will continue to do because that's what everybody wants anyway. They don't care what I write. They want the coupons. That's the way that goes. I don't feel
actually,
but
my
you can't go
recommended
to
has
digital
something to do with your
coupons.
coupons.
What's that?
My recommended is somehow related to your coupons.
Oh, good. All right.
No, I was just saying that a lot of places have gone to digital coupons. You can do that now, and they show up on your phone.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing that too, which is, we're going to turn our attention to that. And that was that was the point I made when I wrote about what we're doing. I said, we're going to spend more time on the thing that really makes the Las Vegas Advisor something that most people want mostly for that reason, which is what the coupons are. And we've done a lot more with what we call member rewards online, MROs, or printable coupons. And because of QR codes, the great equalizer there was QR codes, that you can do just about anything with a QR code. And now we're putting them in books and everything, and we're going to add more offers through QRs. So, LVA definitely is going to continue on as we've been doing. We're just not going to do the printed copy, which is it makes me feel so strange. Every time I think about it, I shudder, because I've done this for 38 years. I've done a printed copy of the LVA every single month. It's just amazing.
Well, also you eliminate the counterfeiting problem if you're using QR codes, right? Because you can make them one time, and so people can't make endless copies of them. Yeah,
it's technology can be tremendous. It really can. Not so much for the scufflers and the scammers, but for the providers, it can be great.
Oh, well, they'll find their own way to use technology to scuffle and scam.
Yes, they will.
Yes, you have 14 different cell phones.
They find a ways around it, you guys. You cannot believe it. I have people that come in here and they try to, buy X number of books. And, we pull them up every time. And sometimes somebody wants to argue with me. And I go, I invented this, what you're doing.
Yes.
To some degree, but I mean, with the coupon runs we did when I came to town and all of that, of course there were other people doing it, but I'm pretty sure that I popularized it. I'm like, don't argue with me. I know what you're doing.
Yeah, I suspect Gene Scott and I took it to a whole new level, but all right,
I
let's move
reckon.
on. An hour at the end of our show, we have a recommended. The An hour ago, Richard told me he did not have a recommended for this week. Has that changed in the last hour, Richard?
Yeah, I still don't have a recommended this week, so you go ahead.
All right. So we were talking about the coupon book for LVA, and one of the coupons is for the D Casino downtown. It's in the Circa family, and part of one of the coupons is for a $25 match play. Now there are other $25 match plays at D that are available, and this was I got turned on to this by Jimmy Jazz, who is he writes for Gambling with an Edge blog, and he's a guest periodically. If you mention the name Richard Wilk at the booth, they will give you a $25 match play. If you say hi, Matthew, at the booth, they will give you a $25 match plays. Both of those are once per lifetime events per player. So you need to show your ID and your player card. In addition, when you fly into Vegas, if you have a boarding pass within the last 24 hours, they will give you 2 of these $25 match plays. I don't know how often you can do this. I have not tried this one yet, so I don't know if this is an out-of-towner flying into Vegas or a Vegas local flying back to Vegas. So next time I make a flight out of Vegas and come back, I will go down there and check that. But match play is pretty much free money. And so if you can get 3 or 4 $25 match plays, any of our guests, when they come to town, at least the first time, that's going to be worth a trip downtown, even if they don't have a car.
That's pretty cool.
Anthony,
So,
do you?
hold on. I do have one, but Richard Wilk is a host at the D. And Richard actually wrote a book about being a host. We did the probably the most famous book, which is Whale Hunt in the Desert, which is about Steve Sear, superhost. And Richard Wilk, who goes by Richie, did his own book. It was like Confessions of a Host or something along those lines. But if you search him by author, Richard Wilk, you can find his book. And that's where that one came from. Hi, Matthew. I don't know where that one's from.
I don't either, but I assume he's another host.
Probably. I guess so. That's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, I have one. As you may or may not know, the Caesars Entertainment is trying to bring back the horseshoe. Yeah, right. Sure. I mean, Caesars Entertainment is about as diametric, and their idea is about as diametrically opposed to the horseshoe way as could possibly be, right? I mean, you're not going to find any deals or anything, but they're trying to change Bally's. They're trying to turn Bally's into the horseshoe, and they've got the Jack Binion Steakhouse and various things. I walked through it the other day. There is nothing horseshoe-esque at all about Bally's right now, including the name, which is still Bally's, except for one thing. They've brought back the $1 million photo display. And if you remember, for years and years, you would go downtown to Binion's Horseshoe, and you could get your picture taken with $1 million. That there were $100 bill. I mean, $110,000 bills that were lined up behind a plexiglass, and you and your friends in your drunken stupor or whatever it would be would line up. I cannot tell you how many of those photos I have. And you take a free photo, and they would process it for you. You would come back in about an hour or 2 hours, and you'd pick it up for free. It was one of the great, free souvenirs in Vegas. Well, they've brought this thing back, and nobody said anything about it. They didn't tell anybody about it, but there it is, and it's at the back of Bally's, which will soon have a name change to Horseshoe Las Vegas. and it's the plexiglass covering the bills. And are they real bills? I really doubt it. I'm not qualified to tell. I looked at them. I wouldn't know the difference. But
Are they $10,000 bills again, or is it like a bricks of hundreds?
No, they're $10,000 bills, and it looks exactly the way the horseshoe one did, which was, I recently moved, and I was going through all kinds of boxes of things, and I cannot tell you how many of those photos I have. It's just a fun thing to do. So the way they're doing it there, another reason I don't think they're real, that it's $1 million in there, is because it's an unattended display. They don't have a photographer there doing it, but you can take, with your cell phones and all, you can take your own photos, and it's a really great. It's a super souvenir. I mean, it's worth a trip there just to go do it because of the, I don't know. I just guess the history of this thing, that people did it. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of photos were taken in front of this display, and they've now brought it back. And you can do it 24/7 because it's out there in the open. It's over by the Jack Binion Steakhouse, and it's fun. Go take a picture, and we got it on the cover of this month's Advisor.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it may be the original display, right? If they never disassembled it, because I mean, even if somebody were to find a way to steal it, you can't get rid of a $10,000 bill. What are you going to do with it?
Right, exactly. And I mean, how you got to get it out of there in the first place, all of that. But I heard a long time ago that those bills were sold off. That when Benny Binion died, that those who took over in his family, they got rid of those bills. They cashed them somehow or whatever. That's what I'd heard. So I think it would be very difficult these days, because they're so rare, to have assembled a true 100 of them together, and to just put a spare million on display there. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, you really can't tell the difference, and it's really more about the history of the thing. It's a cool thing.
Very good. So thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.